what is a data artist? So the question that I usually have is, how do you get started, and how did you become a data artist? So just to give you like the quick origin story, this is how I started. I was doing my PhD in data science, especially in network visualization, networks in general. And people were asking me, what are you working on? It's an unusual, very, that you have a question that a friend can ask you. And at that time I didn't really realize that they were not really interested in knowing the answer. So I was like going straight to the whiteboard, as you can see, drawing stuff. Yeah, it's what I'm doing algorithms. You check it out, it's very cool. And they were asking this just out of courtesy. So I realized, okay, if I want to talk, because I like what I do and I want to talk about my research, and it's very interesting for tons of people, but I need a better way to communicate that information. So I started learning more about data visualization itself. And of course, here we have like tons of experts in data viz. And I think we all agree that we have like at least two main goals: either to communicate information or to explore information, right? So this is like a regular dashboard. You have a map, you have a bar chart, line chart, things that we all very familiar with. And here, the goal of data visualization is to be the most effective at communicating data, so that we don't need any, it's supposed to be very easy to understand, even if we need some data literacy to understand really like the charts that we see. But the idea really is to optimize the way that we feel, like to perceive the data, so that we make decisions out of this. So all in all, the goal of data viz is to develop our own cognition about the data and make decisions, tell the story, and so forth. So this is data viz. So I started working with data visualization and try to communicate statistical values that I have in my data. But then I stumbled onto this paper that maybe you in the audience know. It's a very old paper for the scientific research, but it's a very like fundamental paper, at least to me. And this paper talks about artistic data visualization, and basically saying that there's merit, and going beyond the traditional charts that we know is really of interest to tell stories to people, and basically makes the data more memorable and more impactful to them. And this is how I really started to leaning more into data art, so using more artistic means. So it means less efficient in the way we communicate information, because here what we are really striving for is emotion, right? So if you look at the piece here on the left, so you see here in this particular context, this is put as in the museum, it's an exhibition. So you get closer, maybe you like the colors, maybe you like the shapes, so you want to get closer. You go closer, and then you notice that there's a description below. So as you would in any art piece. So you start to read the description. But for the only time, I think, in art practices, instead of being solely the artist's subjective point of view, here the piece is based on a more objective truth, which is the data set, which it stems from. So here there's a very nice duality between, of course, choosing the story, because data, if you take any data set, you always have to choose some of the parameters. So it's not very the absolute objective truth, but it's still better than just having the own subjective mind. And I think I like this duality between this art and science part, I would say, left and right hemisphere of the brain, so that people, when they read the description, then they realize that, okay, but this is about a real data set. So what does it mean? Maybe I can be part of this data set as well. And, it starts to engage a reflection around data, big data in general, and also, as we will see in the next slides, AI as well. So exactly as Mara said, to have this explainable AI, show the outcomes. And because here we use art is non-threatening. So you can criticize an art piece, but it's not about, robots are going to take my job or kill us. This is like the usual idea around AI. And here it's an art piece. So it's okay. It's non-threatening. You can like it, you can dislike it. It's no problem. But still, because it is based on the really core message, which comes from the data, it really, from what I actually noticed, people like it because they can think about it and they don't feel threatened. So this is data art. And if you want to design a data art piece, you would see it's very similar to any data visualization piece. So basically, it's something that's iterative, right? It's non-linear. Sometimes you have a great idea, it took you 2 hours, and then you spend 2 weeks to, say, no, it was just my first draft and I want to make something much better. And finally, you compare the pieces, you show it to people, and they prefer the first one. And then you say, okay, I spent 2 weeks for nothing. This is like I would say the usual, process when you design something like this. Basically, what are the constraints? Is it going to be a static piece, something that you are going to print? Is it going to be animated like a video? Is it going to be interactive where people can actually influence, click on, I don't know, drag stuff on the visualization? Is it going to be abstract or more figurative? I really lean towards the abstract part, but some of the pieces that I did are more figurative. So basically, when you see the piece, hopefully you have an idea of the data set underneath. So it looks like what it represents, more or less. So about the shapes, about the balance between order and chaos, the different colors. And because it's artistic data viz, the colors they have to mean something, or at least if they have the same color, maybe they belong to the same community or the same group, right? So all these questions you have to take into account when you want to design an art piece like this. And so these are like some examples. One is about COVID, it's about patents, pedestrian tracking, Star Wars, Twitter about the Higgs boson discovery, like plants, and so forth. So these are the different examples, but I want to focus today, because we don't have much time, on two particular examples. And one is really about big data, and it's about this particular piece, which is it's actually a 3D piece, but you only see like a slice in 2D, a projection in 2D. And this particular piece is about the Montreux Jazz Festival. So I'm not sure if you are familiar with this music festival. It's one of the most prestigious and most famous music festival. It's in Montreux. Montreux it's a city in Switzerland next to Lausanne, 45 minutes. And this festival, I think, has been going on for more than 54 years now. So it's, of course, not this particular year because of COVID, but otherwise, it's held every year. And basically, this is the amount of data that we have in the Montreux Jazz: 11,000 hours of video, 6,000 hours of audio. So we have different cameras, right, looking at the scene, more than 100,000 pictures. And all in all, it's 2.7 petabytes of data spread across 2 different data centers cooled by the Lake Geneva water. So it's pretty big as a data set. And our goal here is to design an experience that actually talks about, to valorize this data set, to show it as it is, that people interact with it, experience the music again if they already went to the concert, and also reflect on what is big data, what can we do with it, what are the possibilities, more meta questions, I would say. And so just to give you an idea, I made some small data visualization about all the different artists that you have in the Montreux Jazz. So each dot here it's an artist, it's our band with its original location. And as you click on a node here, you would notice that we have green arrows, right? Green links. And those links are actually showing you the musical similarity between artists. And then you can ask the question, what is musical similarity? And basically, we use AI algorithms to extract the notes, the chords, the harmony, the different music genre from the live concerts. They are not from the studio version, they are from the live Montreux Jazz concerts. Then we compare all the songs together and we learn what it is that makes a song similar to another. Maybe it's the same rhythm, the same notes, same melody, same singer. And then we start to group all these songs by artist. And then we have this particular network where we connect artists. For instance, this one is B.B. King, which is the leading artist of the Montreux Jazz Festival, and see how well he's connected to the others. And so this map was used by ethnomusicologists, people who study the origin of music and the music genres and how they evolve, and see that, of course, the blues stems from the US, but B.B. King, really influenced in this music people from the, South America, Africa, and so forth. So this is really interesting as a way of looking at all the data. But this is just one, I would say, data visualization part. And what I want to show you here is the whole process where you go from the data set to the data viz to the data art piece, to have the more, I would say, more abstract visual as we go along. So this is one visualization of the artists. Now we have this one, which is about the music genres over time. So as you can see here, this is a string graph. What you can see on the beginning on the left part is that we don't have much songs, right? The width of the line is proportional to the number of songs for this particular year per different genre. So this is why you have different colors. And as you can see, the jazz in the middle is more or less constant over time, but we have more and more songs as we go along on the right side. So it means that we have more and more music genres and the volume of song is actually bigger. And it makes sense because when the Montreux Jazz Festival started, it was only for one night and for 3 days, and now it's for over 2 weeks, and we have 3 different stages, and we have 2 concerts per night per stage. So you have more in terms of songs. And this is also very interesting because you can witness the birth of music genres that we all appreciate, like funky, hip hop, things like this. They didn't really exist beforehand, but it's really a nice way to show that the curator of the making all the lineup for the different artists really wanted to reflect its time. So mixing old schools, like people that have always been there, such as artists from jazz and blues, but also invite new genres. Like you have also thrash metal in the Montreux Jazz Festival, just to show you that it's not really about jazz anymore, but more about music in general. So this is a more abstract visualization called the string graph. And now we're going to move on to the data art piece, I would say. So how do we create the piece that I showed you earlier? It's very simple. We take all the artists over all the concert, and basically we connect them if they played on stage together. And because one artist can play and come another year and with a different band, then you start to connect all the artists of the jazz according to their if they play together on stage. And you have this flattened network of all the artists over time. And this is what you see here. So this is just a zoom in the middle. The yellow dot here is B.B. King, as I said, is the most famous and most connected artist of this jazz festival. You also have like George Duke, Santana, people that you would expect. And if you think about this, at the center of the image, most of the artists are about jazz and blues, not because they are oldest, but because the music genre itself calls for collaboration. You want to jam with other people, you invite, it's always like this. It's B.B. King and friends. And so someone can just come. It was not really planned beforehand. The guy was playing last day. He comes yesterday and he comes and they play on stage. It's like a surprise for the audience. And so we connect them. This is how they connect over time. So this is like the middle of the visualization, but I want to show you what we did. The full experience was not like a static image. It was actually put into, I would say, a small planetarium. This is called a full dome. So it's here in the half hemisphere on top. And basically what we did was to construct this controller here, which is actually a phone. And we use the accelerometer to orient you so you can grab the sphere and be able to browse the network, click, and then launch all the different concerts for this particular artist, and then select one song, and of course listen to listen and watch the video on the screen. So this is like the whole experience. I'm going to show you a very small extract of what is inside, but I cannot really show you the full experience because everything is copyrighted, as you would imagine, the artist and the song. So we will not tell others that I show you that. It's just between us. But this looks like this. So you're inside, you're like on the floor, or just like some nice seats. You take this rounded controller and you have this fisheye effect that allows you to browse. But here the idea is really to be lost in the immensity of the jazz artist, right? It's not to reselect one particular artist. It's to explore, to browse. And as you would click, you have this animation or all the different concerts comes up, and then you can select the concert and select the songs that you want to listen to. I really wanted to have people being in the data, so you have this overview of all different artists at once. And this is really by design. So to see, wow, I didn't realize that there were so many artists and they were all connected in that way. So then this is like the slice in 2D, or you have all different artists, and you can be here on the outside and be very popular. For instance, Michael Jackson came once to the Montreux Jazz, but if you come only once and if you don't really, all your musicians are not really mixed with others over time, then you're not at the center and you're not one of the stars of the Montreux Jazz Festival, for instance. But if you think of an artist, a very famous band, they all came to the Montreux Jazz. Queen, Led Zeppelin, Toto, U2, whatever, they're all there. So it's very, very interesting if you love music like me. So this is one example. Now I want to switch to another field because we have 10 minutes and I want to show you all the realm of possibilities of data art. And I want to switch to a more, I would say, we used AI in the Montreux Jazz data set, but this is another type of AI. Here it's really about using what we call neural art. So art made with neural networks, basically. And I want to state something that may be obvious for all of you, but I want to restate it again. Machines are not creative nor intelligent. This is really interesting because some people, general audience, we saw different articles about, if it's a computer that makes the algorithm, then there's no artist anymore. We should patent the algorithm. Let's stop this right away. Machines are not creative nor intelligent, but of course we use them as tools. It's equivalent to saying, oh, now we have a tool called Photoshop. Everything that I do with Photoshop, it's not me. I'm not an artist anymore. It's the computer that does it. Doesn't make any sense. It's exactly the same thing here. If you want to train an algorithm, choose the different parameters, choose the outcome of the parameters, image and things like this. You as a human have an interaction and you put your own thoughts and brain into the process. So it belongs to the human at the end. Of course, it's a very powerful tool to synthesize and create tons of different images and combinations, exactly as you would do with Photoshop. So I think for me, there's no debate here. It's very similar. But some people need to be told that, especially the grand general audience. So, but the great thing about neural art, it helps us question, judge, and appreciate, and of course reflect on technology because it's very, apropos, as we would say in French. Everyone talks about AI, and we see it in every 2 days in all the different media. So it's a very hot topic. But I think creating art with this technology helps us, reflect on it. So this is one piece. I'm going to show you some examples. Basic, what you can do is you train there's different techniques, but you train neural network to synthesize images from a very large training data set, such that you put like millions of images in different categories, such as dogs, as you can see here. But if you put dogs and, I don't know, fish, like different fishes, you'd see that you can synthesize and combine different features of the image. And then you can, for instance, here combine a dog and a fish, a dog and another fish. Here it's the kangaroo, and here I don't really know. And to us, this looks a bit weird because this does not really exist in nature. But if you break it down to the individual elements, you can recognize, okay, this looks like a dog nose, but the color here really comes from a fish that I know. And this is where the creative part, starts. And this is really interesting, at least to me, to create new unexpected shapes. So this was just an example. I will not qualify this as art, but now I want to show you a piece that I did, which I like, of course. And it's really interesting because the piece is called "These Are Not Flowers." And what you will see here, hopefully looks like flowers. And on the left and right, you would see the different ingredients that were combined to synthesize the image. And I think this helps us reflect on what we see. And it's actually just a combination of smaller elements. And this is something that really relates to data visualization and our visual processing system. And I think it's really fun and interesting to combine them in different ways. So hopefully this will work. This is on YouTube in 4K. So maybe the quality is not as good, but you can watch it later. Let me just play it for you. All right, I hope that the sound was okay, but otherwise we created a piece of music that matches the whole video. You can watch it, as I said, on YouTube otherwise. So this is just an example. You see, you have a guinea pig, So where is the guinea pig? I don't see it here. You have a traffic light. It comes from the shape and the, like here, the round color, the strawberry for the background, the comic books, you know, when you look at the ingredients, it's very funny, you know, fun to look at and see, to decipher what was used to influence and drive the visuals. So another example that I presented in Paris, the piece that you saw previously was presented, I think, last Saturday at NeurIPS, the machine learning conference. And here, this is in Paris and some of the walls of the EP7, which is a very large, I would say, art gallery / restaurant / bar stuff. And of course, the bigger the screen, the more immersive the experience is. And I had really great feedback from people over there. I'm going to show you a quick video of something that I filmed in the street. And of course, this is very abstract and divided, so it's difficult to see. This is another piece. It was actually three different artworks which were looped. And this is what this one is called, Evading Confinement. So it's about the COVID and lockdown. We also had one on the creatures of the deep. And I wanted to share one last insight about these AI pieces. It's really interesting as a creative, endeavor, because now you could ask yourself, well, we could use AI as an inspiration to create new words and to go back from the machine to the human, creativity, and then feed that again to the machine. So as I said before, it allows us to have original design, to have very fast iterations. And as you will see in the next slides, you can also actually use the shape created by AI to drive your data visualization itself. So for instance, this is a part of the piece, it's a video called Creatures of the Deep. And I called one of my friends, which is who is a concept artist. She designs words for movies, for video games, going back to the drawing board and, try to invent what would be the other shapes in this particular word, from the blobs that you see here to more concrete, yet, unfamiliar alien elements, and going back to this, then use those drawings to feed them back to another AI algorithm to try to recolor them, as you can see here, to get an inspiration and iterate like this. So this was the first iteration. We had these colors and then she was also, influenced and inspired by this to recreate new other shapes like that. So I think this virtuous cycle is really interesting, especially for the creative part, but also to talk about AI. And you see that it's just like a tool that we can use, and we're still in control, and we're not completely overwhelmed by these algorithms. As I said before, you can also use these techniques to drive your data visualization itself. So here, this is like a frame, an original frame from I would say flowers, right? I think we can still recognize these as a flower bouquet. And I use this really as an inspiration to arrive to this particular visualization, which is an organizational chart. So you have the CEO here, the top executive, and as you go up, you actually go down the hierarchy, and here you have the intern of the intern of the intern. And this is a very large group. This is Havas Group, the fourth biggest communication group in the world. And the whole project was very interesting. I think it's for another time, but what you see here, like the whole shape is really influenced by the AI, and I would not have come to this particular flower bouquet without seeing and working on these AI shapes. So you can still go back and link the artistic data viz and AI realm using this technique. So to me, this is really, really interesting. So this is like the details. So as I said, each dot here is a person. They are connected to their here they are connected to their boss, basically. And if they share the same color, it means that they belong to the same business unit. So we have all the different people. It's really funny when you say, oh, this is one person, I can click and have the name, and it makes it really I don't know, you can touch how big an organization is. And I think this is a cool well, we did tons of stuff about looking at the HR data, I would say, but just to have an overview of the whole group is interesting, at least to me. So a last question that I really have all the time is, how do you now get started with the data art? Because it seems that you need to master tons of different technology to do it. And I just wanted to state that creativity is the most demanded soft skill of this year and the previous year as well, according to LinkedIn reports. And this is really interesting. It's more demanding than, I don't know, emotional intelligence, or I don't know, other collaboration, like the first and foremost top skill is creativity. And I want to ask you, when was the last time that you actually actively train your creativity? And I think data art is the perfect way to do that, especially if you come from a data science or database background, because you can always, try to come up with some new interesting visuals, but at the same time, it is grounded into data. So what I did to try to, bring a contribution to this field is to start a YouTube channel to talk about it. And I also have like some online. So if you are interested, I would be really happy to connect with you. I have like 4 more videos that coming, some more, I would say, abstract about how to build a database portfolio, but some are more about a tutorial on how to create an interactive like piece in your browser, for instance. So if you want to connect, please do. Otherwise, if you have any questions, I'm here. Thank you very much for attending.